Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to go back and update you all on some of the daily, the end of day daily analysis I was doing on some US stocks a couple of weeks ago, and we highlighted Apple and Norwegian Cruise Lines for some potential short trades. So I'd like to follow up on those today, now a couple of weeks on. But first, as usual, let's start with our risk disclaimer and remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades were actually taken. They're just shown for illustration and training purposes only. Remind you, as always, there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. I'll put that another way. All professional traders know, understand, and more importantly accept that losses can and will and do unfold. The trick is keeping the losses small. All trade decisions are your own sole responsibility. Right, let's have a look at some charts. The first one I would like to look at is Apple, and in the last video which we did a couple of weeks ago on this, we were looking at this DP sell. You can see it's on a black MTP trend, and if I put the analysis on, right mouse click, analysis over that red sell bar, Apple has declined quite nicely despite the launch of their new iPhone 8 and iPhone 10. Which declined nicely and is now yesterday just tagged the first profit target. You can see here, if you'd come out at this level, it would have been a very nice 7-hour profit. So that would have been a very, very nice trade indeed. Doing some another analysis on this, if we right mouse click on this high, do Elliott wave intermediate, you'll notice that the rally up into the high here was also a five wave sequence with the high ending right at the minimum wave 5 WPT. We also had oscillator divergence on our MTP trend oscillator. So what do we know about 5-wave sequences? Well, we know that once a 5-wave sequence is complete, the first target is the DP from the prior wave 4, which, as you can see, Apple reached yesterday. If this level is breached, and this is the interesting thing that I'd like to look at today, if this level is breached, the market will retrace the entire prior 5-wave sequence. So we go back to the start of the sequence here, right mouse click, place DP on, and this would be our next potential profit target. So if I place the analysis on again, analysis, there we go, and I drag the risk reward down to here, you can see this could increase your profit significantly. Also, if we go to the higher time frame, which is the weekly chart, oh, there's my analysis from earlier. I'll just clear that off. Again, the weekly chart is also at a 5-wave sequence high, so right mouse click, Elliott wave intermediate, you can see this is also at a 5-wave sequence high. Just as I said on the daily chart, the initial target is the DP from the prior wave 4. So on the weekly basis, the initial target for Apple would be down around the 140 area. And if I go back to the daily chart, you can see this coincides with our DP we placed off the start of this daily sequence as well down here. So it'll be very interesting to see whether Apple does indeed carry on declining and go down into this weekly decision point support just under the 140 area, or whether the only decline that it was going to have was down into this first target down here. Either way, very nice trade, and Apple has declined as anticipated. The other trade I was looking at was Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, quite hard to say. Here we had a TS1 sell on a red MTP trend, placed the analysis on. Just like Apple, it actually reached its first profit target yesterday, where a nice 2.7-hour profit was available. But also, if I look at the higher time frame, the weekly chart, this is the analysis I was doing in the last video, is that this was the last swing into the low. So here's the last major low, right mouse click, DP, therefore we were at weekly DP resistance. The next DP weekly DP support is basically, there's again the last swing into the high. Remember, we look at the last swing into pivot highs or lows. So that was the last swing into the low. This is the last swing to this last high. Right mouse click, do DP. This would be the next major weekly support in and around the 45 level down there. So what does that mean on the daily chart? If we go back to the daily chart, you can see that there's our weekly support all the way down there. So will this stock carry on declining? If it does, or the profit target could be up around 8R if the market goes all the way down to that particular level as well. So as with Apple, let's just wait and see whether these stocks do continue to decline. I'm keeping a close eye on Apple to see whether it does go down into the 140 level. If it does, that will be an absolutely fantastic trade. This all is dependent on what the US stock market is doing as a whole, and obviously what the Nasdaq is doing in particular. So anyway, just wanted to update you on these stocks and show you how they've reached their initial or first profit targets yesterday, and we'll wait and see whether the markets do carry on declining over the next few weeks and possibly months, to see whether they do get to these further out or major weekly support levels in the next few weeks stroke months.